Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Taisha Preston and I am the administrative assistant for SCMA. Welcome to our pivoting, practicing, and profiting workshop. I just wanted to remind you that this event is in meeting format. That means that you can see and hear us and we can see and hear you. This webinar is eligible for 1 hour of MCLE credit and 1 hour of MC3 continuing education credit. If you are requiring MCLE credit for attending this event, please make sure the make sure the name that is displayed for you during this workshop is the name that matches your state bar. If you did not provide us with your state bar number during registration, please email us at info@scmediation.org. This webinar is also being recorded. You will receive an email sometime next week with the recording. I would now like to introduce to you our workshop sponsor, Gary Doran Hafer from ADR
Very good.
Notable.
Thanks very much, Taisha. I know you wrote that out phonetically to get it just in right.
I
Good job. Good job. Well, thanks so much. And let me just say it's been terrific to be introduced to the SCMA family today, last night, and today. I've enjoyed listening to John Fisk this morning and to the panel that talked about early intervention in the mediation process just before lunch. It's been a great conference so far. Let me do just a really quick introduction about ADR Notable, and then I have a short video that gives you a better sense of it. But my experience as 30 years as an in-house counsel convinced me to believe in alternative dispute resolution, and in particular mediation. And I really honestly believe that the best means for resolving disputes of all types in our country, in our society, is through mediation. And that's the belief that motivated ADR Notable. I'm the founder of ADR Notable, and it's a case and practice management software designed specifically for mediators. And one of the first things we learned when we started out was working with mediators, of course, was the importance of listening. And we think we did. We tested ideas and prototypes with a wide range of mediators. And we think we have built a software tool that makes the unavoidable business processes of being a mediator and makes them easier while staying out of the way of the real work you do that requires human skills. So with that, I have a really quick video I'd like to share with you. Whoops, hold on. I need to click the audio on the share, which I did not do. Okay, now we're ready.
Meet ADR Notable, the first technology tool designed specifically for dispute resolution professionals.
Gary,
ADR Notable is designed from the ground up to help mediators simplify administrative tasks.
We're seeing a blurred CLE credit film. I think it's the schedule for the conference. Hey, Belle.
How about now, Susan? Are you seeing a big blue blank screen?
Okay. We are.
Yeah.
Meet ADR Notable, the first technology tool designed specifically for dispute resolution professionals. ADR Notable is designed from the ground up to help mediators simplify administrative tasks so they can focus on listening and helping clients find their best solutions. But that's just scratching the surface. Let's see how ADR Notable can help you before, during, and after mediation sessions. New client? Before a session, ADR Notable's process checklists and intuitive design make case management easy. Conflict check, engagement agreement, scheduling, client documents. With ADR Notable, you're always thoroughly prepared. Our software also integrates with the calendar and email systems you already use, and we ensure that client files and documents are easily accessible. During the session, you can take notes and organize them with drag and drop ease. You can even change the order of the issues or put a proposal together with its related issues all in one place. Then clearly track the back and forth of counter proposals. When a proposal is accepted, those issues are checked off automatically and you're ready to tackle the next one. Later, add detail to accept proposals with access to your library of standard clauses and forms to get the final terms of the agreement. Just print, email, or sign it right there. While in session, timers track time spent separately with each party and jointly with all parties. You can search your notes and access checklists, case files, your library, calendars, or emails. It's all at your fingertips, even on your smartphone. And everything is stored securely in the cloud until you choose to delete your notes and confidential documents. It's easy to create a case summary for the courts or clients and keep basic information for your files. After your sessions have concluded, calculate your final invoice using ADR Notable session timers. Need to know how many hours you spent on family law matters last year? Just run a report to get your answer. ADR Notable is easy to learn and use, and we provide excellent customer service just in case you need it. So whether you mediate cases daily or even just a few times a year, ADR Notable is a great way to improve your efficiency, organization, and to get agreements faster than ever before. Being a mediator means running a business too. ADR Notable can help.
So that's the intro to ADR Notable. I just want to let people know that if you go to adrnotable.com and you enter a code of SCMA 2021, that will make you eligible for a 3-month free trial. No obligation, no credit card needed, instead of our standard offer of only 1 month. So we really hope you'll give us a look, give us a try, and that you find us to be as helpful as we hope to be. And with that, I want to say this next panel is going to be terrific, I'm sure, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Gary. All right, Deborah, we'll have you kick us off. We're excited.
Yeah, Susan, I think I'm supposed to introduce you.
Oh, gosh.
Just can't stop.
No, Angela.
I mean, you ladies need no introduction, but I think it's very important to introduce you. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angela Reddock Wright. I'm the principal at the Reddock Law Group, where we specialize in dispute resolution, workplace and employment mediation, arbitration, and workplace investigations. I'm also a member of the panel of mediators at Judicate West, and we are, Reddock Law Group, we're proud to be a sponsor for the Family Mediation Conference this year. Kudos to you, Gary, and your company for all you're doing, and thank you, SCMA, for this dynamic panel. We have 3 amazing women that I have had the pleasure to start to get to know and work with over the last few years through my involvement with SCMA. So I'm very happy to introduce them in order of their last name. So I'll start with Dr. Deborah Dupree. I'll start by saying she is a new member of the SCMA board. So thank you, Deborah, for your service. Dr. Dupree is a renowned mediator, speaker, and trainer with nearly 30 years experience in the dispute resolution field. She is an advanced practitioner in workplace mediation by the Association for Conflict Resolution, and served on its board as the national co-chair and editor for the ACR workplace section. She teaches, she's a part of the panel of faculty for the American Arbitration Association, as well as the California Western School of Law. And as you could tell from her bio, she had so many other involvements and accolades to her name. I asked each panelist, what's something in your bio that's not in your bio, that's a fun fact about you. And Dr. Dupree shared that she's adventurous. Each year for her birthday, and when we're able to travel, she tries to do an exciting adventure every year. Last year, pre-pandemic, for her birthday, she trekked through the jungles of Belize and the ruins of Belize. And this past year, due to the pandemic, she did something a little smaller, and she went zip lining at Catalina Island and trekked on the back parts of the island looking for bison. So welcome, Dr. Dupree, and so nice to have you as a part of this panel.
Thank you so much, Angela.
Okay, secondly, we have Susan Guthrie. Many of us have taken her training classes and have listened to her podcasts. We know that she is a nationally recognized as one of the top family law and mediation attorneys in the United States. And she's been helping individuals and families navigate separation and divorce for 30 years. She provides online dispute resolution services exclusively now. And if you read her story, you know that this was dictated by a move that she made from Connecticut to California, and now she's in Illinois. And so circumstances have caused her to become one of our leaders, the leader in online dispute resolution. And so Susan also serves on the SCMA board. That's where we first had a chance to get to know each other. And one of her recent accolades and additions to what she does is joining with someone we all know and love, Forrest Woody Mostyn, to create the Mostyn Guthrie Academy. So kudos, Susan, for that. She's trained over 15,000 dispute resolution professionals in online dispute resolution. And another kudos to SCMA. Last year, she was our L. Randolph Lowry Award winner for the SCMA as a leader in dispute resolution. One of the fun facts about Susan, and I did not know this as many years as I've known her, is that she loves concerts and music festivals. And she and her husband travel both throughout the country and throughout the world when we're able to see such great groups as the Rolling Stones, Lenny Kravitz, and many other groups. So Susan, welcome, and thank you for all you do for our community. And Susan introduced us to Gabrielle Hartley. I think Gabrielle was speaker at the Family Mediation Institute a couple of years ago, and maybe since then, maybe more than once, and I haven't followed. But thank you, Susan, for introducing us to Gabrielle. She is a leader in the field indeed. She's a leading online mediator and family law attorney known for keeping 99% of her cases at the settlement table. That's pretty amazing, Gabrielle, 99%. After clerking for Justice Jeffrey Sunshine in New York, in the New York State Supreme Court, the matrimonial part of that court, she opened her own private practice serving clients online in Massachusetts and New York. We all know her for her book and her podcasts and all of the speaking she does around Better Apart, the radically positive way to separate. As a result of that book, she's a sought after speaker, podcast. She is a part of many different podcasts, and she's been published in the New York Times, the New York Post, the U.S. News and World Report. She's appeared on numerous television shows. She is just a leader in this field and has given us a great tool for resolving divorce and family mediation matters. When I asked Gabrielle something that's fun about her, there's just two things. One, she has 3 sons. And although she does not play an instrument, she wanted to be sure her sons were raised to play an instrument. So she had them trained on the Suzuki method of learning to play an instrument, which requires lots of hands-on practice every day. So she's a proud mom to say that 3 of her sons are able to play an instrument. And maybe you could share with us at some point, Gabrielle, the 3 instruments they play. The second thing about her, and I'm definitely hoping she'll find a way to fit this in, is that when she was a child or a kid, she lived in 4 different houses every 10 days. So how was that possible? And what was it about your life that made that possible? So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to our 3 amazing panelists. I'm excited to hear what they have to say, and I know you are as well. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you so much, Angela. Appreciate it. Yes, well, I'm going to, as Susan already announced, a preview, I'm going to kick off our program. And in coming together, I've had an opportunity to work a lot with Susan. I'd met Gabriel in Houston last year before we couldn't travel anymore. But really talking about, the impact of what's been happening over this last year. I imagine maybe for some of you, you're getting tired of talking about last year, but we're still shifting. We're still moving around. And so our program today will talk about the impact of going virtual, the changing technology, and who by that will come from. And then Gabriel is going to introduce to you some ideas about how to rethink how we do things for profit. And so in that regard, we want to take a look ahead and just say, the new normal of working remotely. For many people, as Susan, for example, this is nothing new. For others of us, I've always had a combination of both. And I know that as people sort of complain about the nuances of technology, the distortions, the disruptions, the dropped video links and so forth, I shared this a couple of weeks ago at a presentation that I'm not sure about you, but I rather like working from home, and I'd rather deal with these technological interruptions than I would dealing with the traffic on the 405 or the 5. I don't have to travel, and it just makes life a lot easier. And now it actually allows for much more time to be more creative and do more writing and program design. So I'm loving that part of it. But we want to engage you all in a conversation, since we cannot meet personally or physically in person, but we are here meeting virtually in person. We want to create an opportunity for you to review just what's happened. And this is something I coined, out of moments of pain comes the momentum for gain, because we all sort of hit that, not rock bottom necessarily, but it's been painful this last year. But you can see how much people have quickly pivoted. In some areas, people and businesses are flourishing, where others have really diminished. And so to give you some stats about where this comes from a study by Gallup, that 33% of all US workers are working remotely. So only about a third. So that says a lot of people have been out there in the forefront, certainly our essential workers and healthcare providers. But still only a third. Now, 25% sometimes do. So now we're starting to experience that sort of hybrid movement of sometimes in the office, sometimes working from home. And because I do a lot of employment related mediation as well, I tend to track what's happening in the workplace to understand that. And so a lot of organizations are bringing people back in just to keep the social element of it more connected. And then there's a whopping 41%, almost half of our work population do not work at all remotely. And so this is what we're doing is a unique experience for some that they've never participated in. And so that's something to keep in mind, that as mediators, we bring people into a virtual mediation, that some of our participants may not have the skills and knowledge on how to do this, particularly in the area of family. And then a good 2/3 would like to continue working remotely. And I know I'm one of them. I like this whole new way of doing it. I just got myself a sit to stand desk though, so I don't have to sit all the time. So these are numbers to keep in mind about where our audience, our clientele are coming from, and why it's so important that we take a role in educating people about the technology that we're using. And as I mentioned, this comes from Gallup poll. And so I want you to stop and think. Here we are, February 20th, almost 1 year ago, when the world sort of seemed to stop. And I want you to think, where were you? What were you doing on March 16th, that first day of business closing down? What were you doing? Where were you? Because then we're going to take a look at just a few other questions. And again, create that opportunity for you to engage. The power of connection is huge. And I use this concept all the time in my mediations, in my trainings, in my meetings, because it does warm up the soul, shall we say. It does warm up the brain to be open to what's coming forward, particularly if they are difficult conversations. So there are 3 questions that we're going to ask that you address in your breakout rooms. And we're going to go ahead and broadcast those 3 questions into your breakout room so you can follow along. The first question, what's the biggest change for you as a result of COVID-19? For some of you, it may be very significant. Maybe for some of you, you're still struggling with it. But talk about what's the change been like for you. Secondly, what are some of the pain points for our clients? And we certainly know, parenting plans and family court and all this kind of, these elements of our practice have been greatly impacted. But I also want you to think about, what have the pain points been for you? Where have we grown? Where have we, stumbled? Where have we been challenged? And the third question then is, how can we tweak our services to better address their pain points and meet their needs? And I'll just share with you, I know that for me, it's taken me the opportunity to really dive back into some of my materials, some of my procedures, and learning to be much more transparent in what I do for our parties who may not be as familiar. So again, we're going to send you randomly into breakout rooms. We want you to talk quickly just because we want to be mindful of our time. So we're probably going to bring you back in about 8 minutes. And so you may not have necessarily time to go through all 3 questions with all 3 people in your rooms. And we have about 34 participants if we take out the 3 moderators. So about 30 participants. So Susan, I would say if we could do 10 rooms.
It's already done.
Okay, great. Thank you. You're so efficient. And again, introduce yourself if you don't know each other. Say what kind of practice you do, where you're located, and then we'll give you a notice. Usually it's a 60-second notice about when we're going to come back to the meeting room, and then we'll debrief and then go on. Okay, you ready, set, go?
About to fly. We'll see you in a minute, everyone.
Okay.
Oh, shoot.
Did everybody get sent out?
Not everybody's going, so they may not be there, but I can't get the, I can't copy and paste into the broadcast.
Oh, I forgot to give them my instructions too. I always forget that.
Well, that's okay. I don't know that they're actually going to have as long as we thought, because we started 15 minutes or more behind.
So well, that's okay. Yeah.
Susan, did you put Angela in a breakout room?
I did.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be in a breakout room.
Well, she can get out. She just has to leave the room at the bottom. I'm not locking her in. I don't think she went to one because she had left the meeting. So.
Oh, okay.
I
see one other person, Craig.
Yeah, Craig's a board member. He may not.
Okay, I did not know.
Or not.
Sorry, Craig.
But I can't. So I'm trying to cut and paste into the broadcast, Deborah, and it won't paste.
Oh, really? Because I've done that successfully before.
I've cut it 3 times from the email you sent me. Copy. And then I go to broadcast all, and it won't do it. I'm clicking away like a crazy person here. I don't know if you want to try and put it in the chat.
Everyone, great. Well, I know that, we have a short amount of time, but what I'd like you to do is go ahead and pop in some of your comments into the chat room. First of all, what's the biggest change for you from COVID-19? What's happened? Again, I know for myself, it's 100% working from my office at home. And before I used to travel around quite a bit and certainly fly at least once a month. Then what are your pain points for your clients, for you as your mediators? So I see lack of socialization. Yeah, I know I deal with people all day long on screen, but sometimes it's just nice to have, have a conversation with somebody, of course, social distancing. Inability to travel, the ability to build rapport, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about that. Greater connection with others. Breakouts go by so fast, you're darn right. Yes, not the extended family.
That's so hard.
Yeah, heightened frustration, anxiety, yeah. Susan, what are some of the things that you're hearing from all the training you're doing online, or Gabrielle?
Yeah, for me, probably the biggest thing that I hear from people is Zoom fatigue is real. And I know it to be true myself. I'm exhausted all the time because it's so easy to get to the computer and everyone else is there. I'm always here. So I hear a lot of Zoom fatigue.
There's also a lot of people who are remaining very resistant to transforming over to an online platform, both clients and mediators, although I think people are starting to get comfortable just as we're going to be able to start scaling back. So I think it's going to open up a whole new world of both issues and possibilities.
Yeah, and I'm seeing it already in the chat room too, so I encourage people to follow along. Won't be able to articulate each and every comment made, but like I mentioned earlier, for some people, we've really flourished, in being able to finally have the time. I'm writing more, I'm getting things published, which I always struggled with before because so much time was consumed with travel. And so, like Jennifer says, I have more me time now, and I've been really able to focus on special projects and develop really solid goals. And for another, spending more time with husband and kids, not just the extended family. I know my extended family is throughout the country. And so we just did a big February birthday Zoom party on Tuesday night, because there are actually 5 out of 9 kids that were born in February. So we had a lot to celebrate. Yep. Yeah. And so I'm curious what people have to say about what they're doing to tweak their services, to address their pain points and meet their needs. What comes up for that? What are you doing to tweak your services?
I've started to offer mediation in the early mornings of the weekends because people are homeschooling and they don't have the bandwidth during the week between food prep and work and taking care of the kids who no longer have their after school programs or their extracurriculars or their sports. So I have spent more times with my children during the week, and I've turned to doing more work on the weekend, which has actually been great.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, as I'm expanding my hours of work, so to speak, because I don't have to travel. I don't have to worry about that rush hour traffic in the morning or at the night, and I'm here, and it's really easy. But I'm also, Saturdays are a frequent work day because it's nice to be able to get things done when things aren't so busy. Yeah.
I see Patricia's warming my heart here with using more technology so that people can set up appointments on her calendar and automating her forms. Yay! I love hearing that.
And also look at this, helping clients to learn to use technology. That's another really big one.
Big.
Yeah, and I know that's something, where I have really, again, been much more deliberate and transparent in preparing my clients for the virtual experience, being clear with instructions on access. Let's do a test run, making sure that they know about lighting and, distractions, sound, noise, things like that. And so, so lots of different things that we can do. And so it's been a big adjustment for all of us. And I think that is probably one thing I would encourage everyone to keep in mind, is that to have compassion and empathy for what people have been going through, because it has been huge change on so many levels. And to be mindful as mediators to show that sense of acknowledgement. And so how has mediation changed? And it has, because in the early days, there was much more focus on strategy and tactics, much more focus on the transactions of working out the deal, and then parties' degree of satisfaction with the process. But now what we are focused more on about recognizing just how attitudes and feelings really do influence outcomes, and that emotions convey information that can be used strategically. And so that's where I do a lot of work in coaching and educating mediators and advocates on how to read and use that emotion, because emotion can provide huge insight into opportunities for resolution. And I know a lot of people are really uncomfortable with emotion and therefore conflict, and so tend to avoid it, want to get back to the facts. But it's really critical that we bring that out, because particularly in today's world, people have a greater need to be heard, probably more than ever, because of the social isolation that's going on at home. And Susan has already talked about Zoom fatigue, but I'd like her to because we've had a lot of conversations about unconscious bias. And so Susan, weigh in on that, please.
Yeah, well, the unconscious bias is something that honestly, prior to COVID, I hadn't really considered in the arena of the virtual mediation. But something that's become very clear is the addition of technology to what we do adds an additional opportunity for unconscious bias. And so it's very important for us to be aware of that. Think about the last time you were in a meeting and one of the participants had a poor Wi-Fi connection or couldn't figure, so, you know, their screen was freezing or their sound was all off and wonky, or where someone didn't know how to mute themselves so that we could hear their dogs and their kids and the sirens going by, or they didn't know how to share their screen or whatever that is. Think about that perhaps layer of irritation or just that feeling of, come on, let's get on with it, you know, the frustration with that. Think about how that might play into your mediation or how it might play in for the other participants, even if you are aware that it's bringing those feelings up that might perhaps influence your feelings towards someone. Think about how it might be affecting everyone in the room, right? So unconscious bias, there's additional opportunities for that in our virtual world.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm in the middle of a pretty complicated mediation right now, which is mid to high conflict. And one of the parties will do Zoom, but they're not comfortable being seen. And so when you have one person on Zoom and another person on a phone, that creates a disconnect and an imbalance. And we really have to, as the mediator, I find that I have to constantly be aware of doing everything I can to make sure everybody feels like they're in the same proverbial room.
Yeah, and so it's all about attitude. And does attitude show up in our facial expressions? You better believe it. Okay, and so that's something we want to be aware of. And so this is where I encourage everyone to really take an opportunity to look at how can you grow your EI, your emotional intelligence. And that really means 4 areas: self-awareness, self-management, other awareness, and relationship management. And so one of the things to do is take time to read, learn and understand how to read body language, particularly facial expressions. What do those behaviors mean? And then engaging in what I call appreciative inquiry or curious questioning to ask, well, what's going on for you? And what does that mean? And that's a great way to bring out some of those underlying emotions that are the windows to opportunities for resolution. Pay attention to tone, volume, and inflection. Again, reads hugely. And then also be cognizant of how to break down barriers, cognitive barriers that naturally occur. And that's something that we just covered in an extensive program that Susan and I have been working on through the AAA, is some of these cognitive barriers that can come into place, like negative reactivity, anchoring, those kinds of things. And how can we reduce that unconscious bias from coming in? And it really is so much modeled in our own behavior and our ability to read people effectively. And I cannot emphasize this enough, about changing the lingo, okay? I find that, you know, a lot of mediations, particularly, sorry, Susan and Gabriel, lawyer mediators, they tend to bring a lot of language from the courtroom or language from litigation into the mediation. And so we could unconsciously contribute to further divide rather than collaboration. And so I came up with this the other day, reframing conflict from divergent perspectives to convergent outcomes and agreements. And so it's all about that shift. So changing the lingo. How about resolution instead of settlement? How about proposal instead of demand? How about collaborative rather than combative? And how about neutral versus negative? And so it's really being mindful about the words that we use and how we can unconsciously influence others away from collaboration and remaining in competition. And so I like to share this slide. It might look like a lot, but I want people to be thinking about always learning, living, and growing, you know, how we continue our education throughout. And so these are really phases of competency and what I call courageous curiosity. At any given time, we simply don't know what we don't know. We are unconsciously incompetent. And then something happens and, oh, I know that I don't know what I don't know. And so now I take steps to learn it, grow it, attend. And then I become consciously incompetent. And then from there, I practice, I learn, I continue to apply what I've learned. And now we're consciously competent, but we don't want to stop there. we want to keep practicing and growing and learning so that we become unconsciously confident. It's just part and parcel of what we do intuitively. And then guess what? We get the opportunity to start all over again on the next new area of topic. So with that, you know, experience yields judgment and judgment yields intuition. And so, you know, that's some of the ways we want to shift and to continue to learn, live, and grow. And with that, Susan, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Sure. And we're going to move on. So this is where I start to get all excited, right? We're going to be talking a little bit about the technology side of what's been coming in the pipeline, what's been changing for us. I think most people would say, if you think back to March of last year and today, you know, the addition of so much technology for us has been probably, it's been a fire hose, right? We've just gotten inundated. And many of us, I mean, if you think about it, I use this phrase, Zoom fatigue. A year ago, you didn't know what I was talking about if I said Zoom fatigue, or if I'm going to Zoom you. I know people a year ago who had no idea what Zoom was. In fact, my inbox about March 17th of last year was suddenly inundated with very panicked human beings who had no idea how they were going to have their mediation practice continue. And now we're not even a year later, and most of us don't think a thing about flipping open our computer and having a meeting with people. But in fact, in that time frame, in less than a year, we have honestly moved way beyond basic video conferencing. This is much more than Zoom when we talk about online or virtual mediations. So, whoops, we're not advancing, sorry. Here we go. So I want to make us aware of where we're going, things that are changing. I will tell you, this presentation, or this portion of my presentation, changes all the time. In fact, I put a new slide in here this morning. I mean, there is new stuff coming in the pipeline constantly. But let's talk about this, you know, screen, because this probably looks familiar. If you were doing a same-sex divorce case or prenup or, you know, family matter, it might look very much like this right now. You'd have your two parties on the screen. You might see yourself as well, or some people don't like to see themselves, so it would look just like this. But there wouldn't be a lot of other technology, and this would be what we're very much used to. Now, I'm going to show you another screen, and I couldn't find a screen that exemplified what I wanted for a mediation. So I'm going to use a virtual hearing. So the next screen is what we all, I think, know a virtual hearing or trial today looks like. It looks just like, you know, this. I had to work this in somehow. So we had to go with the kitty cat. It just made me so happy. I must have gotten 50 emails when this happened that day with people going, Susan, have you seen this yet? So, but putting aside the kitty cat face, the filter, this is what Zoom hearings, this is what a virtual mediation, people in equal squares set around the room or on the screen, everyone pretty much, you know, we're seeing their face. As if you've listened to any of Deborah's and my other presentations ever, we talk about, you know, 55% of our communication is in our facial expressions, something that you can see. I mean, we all saw that cat when he was looking around trying to make the changes on the, trying to get rid of the filter. We knew the panic that that attorney was feeling, even though it was through a filter. You knew when you watched it on the news. But this is changing. Our online presence is going to be changing very rapidly. In fact, Microsoft Teams already has immersive environment. So this is what a Zoom hearing looks like today. And this is what it's probably going to look like in the very near future. So Zoom, on Zoom, as I said, Microsoft Teams already has this immersive environment. So something to be aware of is they're going to be introducing these visual pictures that we would then be setting people's video thumbnails into. But look at the difference. Look at the feel here and the equal pictures, and everyone's on the same footing. I'll step into Deborah's territory of the psychological impact of this screen. And look at the difference here when you put everybody into the immersive environment. So what I would say is, as this technology becomes more available, be thinking about what you would want to create in your virtual immersive mediation room. I picked this picture because it has the proverbial round table that we've all been, you know, in our trainings have heard about. But are you going to be able to create that? If they introduce an immersive environment, it's likely to look like a corporate boardroom at first. And, you know, I'll let you weigh in on that, Deborah. What sort of atmosphere does that create for your participants?
Yeah, I apologize, Susan. I was paying attention to the chat box. So
oh, that's okay. Well, I was just gonna. It goes to the feeling that you are creating for your participant. So in some ways, I would say that it's actually very helpful for people to be on the. Whoops! I'm just going to back up for a sec. Back to this equal footing, where everybody is the same size, everybody can be seen. So although this technology will be coming, you may or may not want to use it. And you may only want to use it when you can actually customize it to suit what you want it to be, what you want the feel to be. I'm sorry, Gabrielle, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that if you're at a table that is not round, especially men tend to have a face-to-face feeling of competitiveness and combat. So it's really important, mediators, when and if this does come out, select the round table. It's more important than you may imagine. And there's a lot of statistics to back that up. And I imagine that will bear out also online as it does in person.
Right. And you'll see, I mean, it's still going to be a flat screen. We're not going 3D in these immersive environments. So yes, we do need to consider the inability to create that feeling of all being at an equal table.
Susan, so, I do have a comment. I'll go quickly on that then.
I'm sorry.
You know, yeah, when you do have that immersive environment of the actual courtroom, then again, you're sort of creating this more formal, formidable kind of environment. And so then that can tend to get the neuroscience of our brain acting up because we have that natural fight, flight, freeze response. And so, oh my gosh, you know, this is overwhelming. And so we can actually induce our mindset to operate in ways that may not be favorable for a smooth outcome.
Right. I mean, this one, I mean, look at her Honor Simone up there. She couldn't look scarier. Nobody wants to be in front of her. So, but one of the biggest challenges, and actually Gabrielle kind of alluded to this earlier when she talked about one participant being on the phone and one person being visible on the video camera. By far and away, the biggest challenge that is coming for our profession will be hybrid mediations. And you know, it's pretty universally believed that hybrid mediations are going to become the norm when we go into post-COVID world. And what do I mean by that? I really mean where you have some of your participants sitting in your office with you physically, and some of them who want to beam in remotely. And I can tell you, I've done this, and there are issues with it. When I first moved from California to Chicago, I had been co-mediating in San Diego with a colleague, and I loved working with him. So he's like, well, we'll put a TV up on the wall, and I'll have the couple come into the conference room like we always did, and we'll put you up on the wall like the great and powerful Oz, the head on the wall. And I'm like, great, sounds wonderful. I was used to working virtually anyway. But I can tell you that there's a very different feel to a room where you are behind the curtain hanging on the wall and there are 3 people in the room. And so there are practical and psychological issues that we as mediators need to think about and take into consideration before we offer hybrid mediations, or before we blithely say, sure, we can have you beam in, Bob, and Mary can come down to the office. And I've sort of alluded to the practical, you know, how are you going to make sure everybody in the room is heard? Is everyone going to wear a headset or have a microphone so that the person who's remote or people who are remote can be heard? Is everyone going to be looking onto a laptop? So you're going to have every participant with a laptop so that they all can see the people who are remote, and the people who are remote have a camera to see them. But Deborah, just give us a little layer of understanding of the psychological issue where you've got people who are remote and not in the room, and then people who are physically present.
Yeah, that's a really important consideration. I know I was talking with Jeff Zano from New York earlier in the week, and he was describing, because from his perspective, ADR never shut down. The courts did, but ADR did not. And so now things are getting much more sophisticated in the technology and placement of cameras and things like that, because it's real easy for whomever is on the screen to feel disconnected and even isolated by the parties in the room without even knowing it. And so the parties may engage with them and sort of ignore the person on the screen. And so again, it's sort of an exclusionary kind of thing. So placement of your technologies is going to be really important. And I'm certainly not the expert to advise on that, except to know, be mindful, because we want to be able to include everybody, and particularly as a mediator, making sure that you're sort of checking in and visually connecting, asking questions to keep drawing people in so that exclusion doesn't happen when people are physically separated.
Right. So there is technology that's available to help us with this. Logitech, I just attended a conference with Logitech. They have something called Rally Bar that they've just released. It's this setup that you see over here. And this is sort of what a virtual mediation in your conference room can look like, where you would see the camera here underneath the two screens. You have speakers so that the whole room can be heard, and then you have the microphone on the table, so that this would work rather than having to have everyone have a computer. Rally Bar, they have Rally Bar Mini, Rally Bar, and then they have large room, conference room type things. But for, I think, about $2,000, you would be able to outfit your conference room with this technology so that you would be able to go and be ready when you wanted to do hybrid mediations. And they've even done it here where you have one screen with the remote participants and another screen where you can be showing whatever you're drawing up on the share screen, so that you can keep those thumbnails as large as possible. And if that technology is out of pocket, they are also, many of the places like Regus and the office suites where we used to go and rent conference rooms, they're now installing virtual suites where they are going to put that technology into rooms in their spaces. And I might suggest that you find out if there's that technology, that type of rental is available in your area, if you want to be offering hybrid mediations as an ongoing thing. It actually might be something that sets you apart from your competition, that you are fully set up to deal with the psychological and practical issues around hybrid mediations. I guarantee that hybrid mediations, hybrid meetings are going to be the next thing. This is where we're going post-COVID. And then I do want to just talk about some of the additional technology that's there to help us as we've gone into this virtual world, because so many of us are still drowning in paper. I just loved this visual. And I did this when I first switched to being a virtual practitioner. I was literally like holding up pieces of paper because I'd write on my yellow pad and then I'd hold up my notes for people to see. A completely useless way to try and practice. In addition, it's not very practical. I talked to a practitioner just the other day, and we were talking about how they gather the financial information from the clients, how they gather the personal data. They send them printout sheets to print out, handwrite their answers in on, that then need to be scanned and sent back. I would posit that that's probably not something that the clients find too convenient. And then what is that person ending up with but a pile full of paper again? So there is technology that is coming along and is available right now that is there to help us. One of those is Detour Life, which is a fantastic program. Gabrielle actually introduced me to Story, the founder. Clients love this. If you want to talk about something that induces client satisfaction, how much do clients love printing out all of those, statements, or downloading all of the statements for the past 3 years out of all their bank accounts, getting their tax returns and getting all of that to you? In this program, all they do is hook up to their Chase account, to their Charles Schwab account, to their American Express account, and all the data is just there. It continually updates, and you can go historically back as far as you need to. You can upload all of the things that you need. You can get the personal data. It's one portal. All you do is send your clients a link. It's drop-down menus. It's user-friendly. That's one possibility. Another possibility on the data collection, there are now financial providers out there who are doing the work for us. So for those of us, I hate doing the collection of the financial discovery, if that's, not, I shouldn't call it discovery because Deborah said, watch our language, collecting the financial data. And the clients don't like it. So the ladies at My Divorce Solution, both of whom are financial professionals, pull it all together for the clients. And basically what you get and the clients get at the end of their handling of the process as financial professionals is a delightful MDS financial portrait that has everything tabbed, all of their paperwork there and tabbed and ready for you, all of it provided in digital format. And then I think this is funny. So ADR Notable, I did not include ADR Notable in here because Gary was our sponsor. I am a huge adopter and fan of ADR Notable. So I was thrilled when he sponsored our presentation, but I strongly urge you to go check ADR Notable. The one thing, I know Gary showed you the film, so I won't take a lot of your time on it, but I recently interviewed Gary for my podcast to talk about ADR Notable. And one thing that he said stuck with me, he said, because they started creating ADR Notable before March of last year. It was a pre-COVID design that they were starting to come up with. And he said it was because they wanted to bring the computer into the mediation room. And I said, well, isn't that interesting? Because now the mediation room is the computer. And so what you have with ADR Notable, with the practice management, with the in-note session note-taking, the drafting of your documents and the e-signatures, you have everything that you need right there on your screen, and you can screen share. I can't begin to tell you how this can change your practice and make things easier. And we don't have time to talk about just being able to use visuals in an online mediation, but it's incredibly helpful.
Susan,
and then
we did have a question in the chat box. So
sure.
I'd like to, we talked about the impact of visualization and e-learning platforms on learning outcomes. What thoughts do you have about the impact of virtual platforms on the cognitive decision-making process in mediation? And I know
That's
what I would
great question. Yeah. Go ahead. Well, no, please, Deborah, it's your area.
Yeah, Will and everybody else is that, I'm sure that, there's still a lot of research to be done, but Susan and I have engaged in a couple of surveys among professionals like yourself, as well as I've been reading constantly about, the virtual mediation, and actually people process visual information like 90,000 times faster, pictures worth 1,000 words. And so when we can use visuals effectively, we are actually helping the decision-making process. And what we're finding is that mediations are actually, let's say, reaching resolution earlier rather than longer. And there's also the whole element of, we can see everybody, but we're not in the physical presence of somebody else's conflict. So we can actually engage in mediation a little bit more cognitively settled than what we might actually be in an in-person room. And so there's a lot of factors on, to consider about that. And I find it's been just great. So
I ditto everything that Deborah just said. And then I'll just go through these last two things because I want you to know this technology is already here as well. There's AI assisted mediation out there. Bliss Divorce and WeVorce are both out there. I know everyone's going, oh, they're going to put us out of business. They're doing our job. That is not what they're doing. They help narrow the issues for a couple. And then I think Layla is here. She is one of the mediators for Bliss Divorce. What the mediator receives is a synopsis of all of the information, the areas where the party agrees, and actually a synopsis of the areas where they don't agree and what they need to hone in on. So, and WeVorce works roughly the same. So it works off artificial intelligence, but it's assisted. It is not opting out of using a human mediator. And then just quickly, so that you're also aware, because I find this fun and I don't think we'll have time to watch the video, but there is virtual reality meeting out there. The technology already exists. You can go to meetinvr.com, watch this video, and it will show you what a virtual reality meeting can look like. I participated in a virtual reality mock hearing just a couple of weeks ago, and I can tell you, you know, the people are avatars, but you can still see, actually, while I'm talking, I'll just play the film so that you can let me know if you can see this. Can you see the film playing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can, the people are avatars, they're not your human face, but you can still see emotion. It's really quite incredible. So here's what a room would look like, and people are still able to shake hands, write on boards. You can use the whiteboard. You're going to see all the different things that people are able to do. And we soon will have this technology available to us. In fact, right now, those little VR headsets are only about $500. So the technology is, your kids are playing it down in your basement already. So be prepared. So this is going to be available. And I do have a handout I'll pass to you all that has all the links to everything that I've just talked about as well. So don't worry, you don't need to write all those down. I should have told you that before, but I want to make sure we have time to get to Gabrielle, because she's got some exciting ideas on how you might be able to manage your, or make some tweaks to your practice in order to make more money. Let's get back to the profitability in the new 2021 and beyond.
That you ladies are follow up. You've got to enable me to share, actually.
Oh, sorry, you came in again. There you go.
Sorry. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Here we go. Okay, so now we've heard about all these unbelievable new ways that the mediation practice is moving forward, but how can we catch up, like we mediators, how can we modernize our practices so that we can make more money, make money in a different way, match the energy of our clients? I heard this morning, actually at one of the other SCMA breakout rooms, about how 60% of everyone getting divorced today is a millennial. Well, guess what? I can't tell you the exact percentage, but something like 70% of all of their communication is on the phone. I don't know if you can see it with my background, but they want everything immediately, and our dinosaurish ways of doing things, where we are picking up the phone and sending emails and there's lag time, it's just not going to cut it in a couple of more years. I was practicing law way back when we used to actually send letters and CC letters. You have to print everything. And then we think we're so modern because we're copying and BCCing on an email, but that's not even going to bring us to where people want to be. So we need to really shake up our practices and shake up how we're doing things. And by becoming more open to different ways of setting up your offerings, you're going to, number one, you're going to meet your clients where they are, right? Because maybe the billing, these people are much more sensitive to how much things are going to cost. They tend to be less accustomed to or open to, just like, because we're the mediator, that we're just going to bill forever and ever. And for you, maybe getting away from hourly spending might be a nice break. So we've talked a lot about embracing new ways of tackling old tasks. There are so many different platforms that you can use just for organization. There's like Acuity, Calendly, DocuSign, all of the different co-parenting applications, the ADR platforms that Susan was just talking about, that Gary showed us in the beginning. All of these things can really, really dial the way we practice in a different direction. But okay, so let's just think about how we're going to address our clients' pain points. So beyond the divorce or separation or reestablishing the co-parenting, what other pain points might they have? Right, Deborah, you can speak to that. Like the process, what are the pain points in the process that you feel like the parties have?
Well, again, I think, you know, on the one hand, it's this resistance to have to gather up all this information, but then also wanting to get it done, you know, and so I frequently will, you know, just coach people as far as, you know, that getting started is oftentimes the hardest thing, because that's where we do need to amass our information. And so to be supportive and helpful to them, making it as simple as possible, it becomes very important.
Right. And sometimes you'll have a case where both parties really want to resolve things, and then they go off to their lawyers, which I'm a huge advocate of sending my clients to lawyers, but then the lawyers amp it up and they do, you know, they turn information gathering into discovery, and then the clients hear the word discovery and then they're like, oh my God, I can't do mediation because I need to do discovery, and they don't even really know what they're talking about. So one thing that you might want to start thinking about is structuring your mediations differently. And there's a lot of different things that you can do. There's a lot of different ways you can package your services so that your clients don't have an unending stream of concern, bills, worries, unknowns. And you know, there are platforms that you can use for billing, for timing, for intake. You can structure your sessions based on what services you're going to give them. There's like a way to do it so it's small, medium, and large for flat fees in a certain amount of time. You may think about doing something that's, you know, vanilla chocolate strawberry, like, you know, pre the action, during the action, after the action. Susan, have you tried to do anything like that in your practice?
Well, I actually, I work off that modified flat fee structure where I charge sort of a flat fee for out of mediation services and then just charge for the amount of hours that we have sessions, or I include in the flat fee a certain number of mediation hours. So it can be just one flat fee. I can tell you clients absolutely love the idea that they have some control over the cost, and a flat fee makes them feel that they do have that control.
And something else that is hugely helpful for clients and may also be helpful for you is that your work is very organized, because if you do it within a certain amount of time, then a case is in and then it's out and they're done. And guess what happens when a client has an agreement that they're happy with, that's not very drawn out and painful? Then they send you more clients, right? So that's very good for your business, for your practice, whatever way that you're working with people. I would just encourage you to consider different models that you might use to restructure how you're interacting with your clients, how you're billing with your clients, even your role with your client. So Susan, do we still have time for the people to go into a room for 5 minutes and talk about with one another what kinds of tools they may use to innovate their practice? And
well, we can probably do one or the other. We can either take questions or we can do the breakout room.
Let's do the breakout. And if you have questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat and we will answer them for you in the chat. But in the breakout, just take a couple of minutes to talk to one another about different ways that you may innovate your practice after hearing anything that any of us said, or things that we may not have even talked about. What are different ways you might do billing or organize intake or organize the structure of your practice? So we'll do the same thing. Susan will put you in rooms of 3.
Okay, well, they're broken into different rooms,
okay.
So
okay.
It's already done. You're just gonna go back to your rooms.
Okay, go to your rooms. That's okay. I loved your, Susan, that virtual reality. I want more and more and more.
Isn't that cool?
It is so cool.
I really you didn't show that video. I was like, I really want to show the video.
Is this going to just shut down at 4:45?
No, it's my meeting.
Oh, okay. They'll just leave.
But yeah, that's okay, well, they've already started. The minute they heard there were more breakout rooms, they started popping out.
Oh.
Susan, on a separate note, if I may, while I have you trapped here, if you talk to Elliot, let him know that I will get back with him.
Sure.
I've been just tangled up in all this other stuff. So
Gabrielle's on the membership committee as well. So I'm sucking Richard into the student and early career outreach.
Elliot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Elliot.
We love Elliot. Deborah knows Elliot as well. Here everybody is.
Wow. Quick.
So Richard, let me know when you have time, because I would love to have you on my podcast.
Oh, I just
welcome back.
Hi.
Give me a shot, Deborah. We'll do it.
I will.
Thank you.
So I'm wondering if anybody had some ideas, what some of the ideas that you came up with for ways that you may innovate your practice, alternative ways of billing, alternative ways of making offerings to your clients, or anything else that you might have heard today that seems like things that you're going to consider, or maybe some things we haven't talked about that you came up on your own. You can just raise your hand or raise your little virtual hand. Patricia?
The one thing, since we were all at our mediation training, that I've been talking about a lot with my office manager is shifting and doing kind of that flat fee for the paperwork aspect of it. And when I heard Susan talking about that, and just having them pay, hourly as to the mediation sessions. So, okay, we'll set these mediation sessions. And our one concern, or the one stumbling block that's come up when trying to set it is, some people just give you all the information and the facts super easily. And other people, you'll send an email with 10 questions and they'll answer one, maybe two. And how do you?
So you're doing my Better Apart practice total practice takeover. We are going to address all of those concerns there. So that's great though. And I'm glad to see that you're thinking along those lines, because I do think that's the way to move forward. Anybody else have any thoughts, ideas, usings?
Well, and I do want to say too, just let me just, because if you're using something like Detour Life, or you're using MDS Portrait, My Divorce Solution, they take care of all of the data collection. So it becomes something, you build that cost of that, that technology or service into your fee, but they do all that work for you. So it's something that could alleviate that pain point for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Charles, you were raising your hand.
Yeah, our group, we were all kind of excited about ADR Notable, and having something to handle the documents when you're doing it, because that seems to be the fly in the ointment for Zoom mediations. And wow, I'm just really, the seminar is worth a weekend just to learn about that.
I thought it was incredible also. That was actually the first time I saw that presentation. I was really blown away by it. It looked very user-friendly, which is a big thing for those of us who don't like all this tech. Because let's face it, we can't all be Susan.
Everyone has this misunderstanding that I'm some tech genius. I just like technology because it makes my life easier. But Gary and I met about a year ago or so at an ABA event. And it was when I saw ADR Notable, I was like, I need to know that guy. I need to know what that is. And I'm an adopter, as I said.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Anybody else, any other groups have anything that they'd like to share that they think other people here might benefit from? All right, well, I guess everybody, thank you so much. I don't know, are we closing out, or is Angela closing out, Susan?
You were, Gab, you have the slides.
Oh, I do have the slide, and of course it's unshared, so I have to reshare. Oh dear.
Well, and a reminder about those who need NCLE credits too.
Yeah, go ahead, you can do that while I redo this.
I'm gonna turn it to Susan because I don't collect them.
That's Taisha, I don't know. Gab, are you trying to open it? There you go.
I am trying to open it. I'm at the wrong thing, but that's okay. Okay, so.
I was going to say, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Oh, I was going to say really quick before everybody closes out that just please remember to return for Bill Eddy's closing presentation. And again, if you guys still need to provide us with your State Bar numbers, you guys can email us at info@scmediation.org.
Okay, so we've today just covered pivoting, new ways of practicing and profiting, critical PPP for 2021 and beyond. I think we're done with questions. So
yes, well,
thank you so much.
Beyond our time. So.
Yeah, and if anybody is looking to get in touch with any of us, this is all of our contact information. And thank you so much for sharing this time with us together this afternoon. And maybe we'll see some of you over with Bill Eddy, which sounds good, like it's going to be great.
I'm definitely heading over to Bill Eddy.
I also am.
I'll see you over there.
Thank you. Thank you all for attending, and I hope you guys enjoyed the workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.